So when you're listening to your favorite news outlet, your favorite show, podcast, prime time show, a lot of times you will hear information about maybe a celebrity or an artist or someone who is new to the scene. And sometimes you'll have interviews that go on with a guest on the show. Well, all of these things that are happening are a part of a publicity scheme for that particular person, brand, or company. So today we're going to talk about publicity, which is one of the 6 elements of the promotional mix. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it and learn a little bit more about publicity. You're listening to Marketing Adventure, the hub for business, fashion, marketing, and other CTE educators who integrate marketing into the learning experience. I'm your host, Jackie Walker. Each week, I'll cover marketing education concepts, strategies, tips, trends, frameworks, and other information to equip you to connect your classroom to digital natives while cultivating an engaged learning environment. So come on into the room where your favorite beverage, snacks, and even your cell phone are all welcome. So you may ask, what is the actual definition of publicity? Let's say it correctly. Publicity. All right. So publicity is newsworthy information about a person, a company, or a brand that is done at no charge. Free, right? And it is with the purpose of creating a desired image for that person, company, or brand. So that is what publicity is. Anytime we mention the word publicity, just always think of free advertisement. Now that we know what publicity is, I want to talk about the purpose of publicity. I'm going to give you 3 things that cover the purpose of publicity. Of course, there could be a vast number of reasons why publicity would be needed for a person, brand, or a company, but I'm just going to give you the purpose of it. So, number 1, it is used to create public awareness of, say, a store opening, civic events at store locations, or to announce employee promotions, or to announce a new collection that's coming out for a new designer or an existing designer. So it is used to create public awareness, regardless of what aspect of the fashion industry it may be used in. It is used to create public awareness. Secondly, publicity is used to create a positive image and awareness about a company, designer, or brand or person. And a lot of times this is needed when one, maybe something came out about a company that is not favorable, and the company is wanting to change the narrative of the public's idea of who they are, or maybe they're just new to the market and they want to bring about some positive information around their brand or their person or their company so that it can attract people to them. So that's what publicity does as far as creating a positive image. And a lot of times when a media outlet is talking about that company, person, or brand, if they're talking about it, then people perceive that the brand and the company or the person are something to be desired or something to be liked. So it's really key when you can get a media outlet to even talk about you and bring awareness to who you are. That's their buy-in, per se, to who you are as a brand. Thirdly, publicity serves as free advertisement. As I said before, it is done for free. You send your information to the media outlets, and if they choose to talk about you, your company, or your brand, then they do it for free. You don't have to pay them anything. One example of publicity is a fashion designer sending their pictures and articles about their collection to a media outlet, and that outlet talking about them during a news segment or during a radio spot or on a podcast or wherever it is that they've sent their information, that entity uses the information that the designer sent and they talk about them, whether they're giving them 10, 15, 30 seconds or 60 seconds. Another thing is whenever you watch the news, usually like your local day news, and they have a segment for a designer or a chef or someone who's talking about some program that's going on, that's publicity because they have not paid to be on that news spot. The news has decided that, hey, this is interesting. Our audience would like this. Why don't we bring them on to do a demonstration or to showcase what they're all about? That is publicity. It is free. Now that we've talked about the purpose of publicity, let's talk about some characteristics. What does it all entail? I'm going to cover 8 characteristics of publicity. Well, number 1, it is free. It is not paid for by a particular manufacturer or retailer or anyone. It is free. You send your information to the media outlet. If they decide that they want to showcase you on their media outlet, then they share the information, invite you on, do whatever it is that they need to do to get the information out to the public. And it's for free. Now, one may ask, why do the media outlets do this for free? And the number one reason is because it brings them viewers and listeners. The more viewers and listeners that show has, the more advertisement or companies that pick up them for advertisement or that pay them to advertise on their media outlet, the more money for them. Always bottom line. Money is always the motivation. That's what it boils down to. The second characteristic is that it's carried by mass media. So this is your instruments of communication such as newspapers, magazines, radio, television. And I know I said newspapers and newspapers are not around as much, but there still are some circulations that are out there. Small, but they still can carry just as much, well, not as much punch, but it gets to the local audiences because it's usually just your local newspapers. Your magazines, like I said, radio, television, podcasts are very popular right now, and social media. We're not going to leave social media out of this because that is where a lot of people are sending their messages or getting the message across about their business brands or companies. Okay, so carried by mass media. Now, the third characteristic about publicity is that it has to be newsworthy. It has to be something that is very catching, that they feel like the public will want to know about, or something that maybe has been going on, and now they have an opportunity to bring someone into the storyline that has some experience with it, or that is hopping on this particular trend, or what have you. But it has to be newsworthy. It has to earn its media space and time. They're not going to waste their time publicizing something that they feel like their audience is not going to really tune into. So more than likely it has to be something that is really on trend, on topic for the right here and now today, not yesterday and maybe into the future, but really is hot right now. The fourth characteristic is that, again, it has to be timely, it has to hold local interest and appeal to that particular media outlet's audience. So those 3 things combined need to be in place in order for that media outlet to even consider talking about that particular person, company, or brand as a part of their publicity. The fifth characteristic of publicity is that it is more credible than advertising to consumers. Why? Because the news outlet, the media outlet, the podcast, or whatever means it is, would not take their time to talk about something that they have not vetted. they're going to do their research. They're going to look into whatever it is that you're presenting to them to know whether it is something that is worthy of using their airtime, whether it's video or audio airtime, using their airtime to even talk about it. They want to make sure that you're not a fraud. They want to make sure that people are really interested in this. They want to make sure that if they sent this out to their audience, that they themselves believe in it. It has to be credible. And so consumers will take that word from the person who is talking about it over advertisement, because anybody can pay for advertisement. And just because you're advertising doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean that it's credible to everyone else. Doesn't mean that people are really buying into it. It just means that you paid for the time. You paid for the space. And so when someone else talks about it, word of mouth, then that gives credibility to whatever it is that they're talking about. So it's more credible. That's the fifth characteristics. Now, here's one characteristic that may not be, it may be a con to the person who's requesting the publicity, and is that you have little control over the content that comes out. You may give them your press kit and all the information, but you can't control how that media outlet puts it out. They may just take little snippets of what you have given them, and it may not be something that you want them, it may not be the most important thing that you want them to highlight, but anyhow, they will take it and they will compress it into the time slot in which they have, and they'll put it out as they see fit. They're not going to make up stuff or anything like that, but they may not create the whole picture that you want to have created about the information that you would like to have put out. So that is one of the things, one of the characteristics about publicity, is that you don't have any control over it. Once you hand it off to someone, it's up to that media outlet to determine how it's going to go out to the public. So the seventh characteristic of the publicity is that it could have a good or bad result. You don't know. It's dependent on the delivery of the information. It depends on what the information is. And we just never know how sometimes things can trend, because sometimes things can turn on a dime, and then that publicity that you've released about your product or your service could now not be so on trend, especially if the outlet that you send it to doesn't release it in a timely fashion. Um, so you could get good press, you could get bad press. It just really depends on the environment and the timeliness of the information. And the last characteristic that I have here is that it helps make styles, manufacturers, retailers, trends, designers all better known to the public. And that's what they want. My students used to always say, when you talked about what they desire to do, they want to become a designer, they want to become known. And they used to always say they wanted to become known. And I was like, hey, well, give me a little bit more than that. What else do you want? Well, that's ultimately the thing. The characteristic of publicity is to become known, is to make your name something that is known to people that may not have known it before, or to increase the coverage or the information about yourself, or to repetition is key for people to keep hearing your name come up, hearing your brand come up. And the more they hear it, the more it'll pique their interest, and they'll be like, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I need to check out this person, this brand, this company. So yes, to become better known is the last characteristic that I'll share about publicity. Now that we know the purpose of publicity and the characteristics, let's talk about distribution. How do you get that information out to the media outlets? Well, the one true way to get information to a media outlet is a press kit. Now, a press kit is a promotional package that contains pertinent information about you, your brand, your company, and it gives them all the information that they need to know when they're talking about your company, your brand. Now, a press kit can consist of a variety of things. I have 5 key things that a press kit should contain. And you can use all of them or just a few of them. It just really depends on the information that you're putting out to a media outlet. We used press kits when we talked about our fashion shows, and we would send those to the schools, media outlets, to our admin, and to key people that we wanted to know about the fashion show. Now, the number one component of your press kit is your press release. This is the written story about your event or whatever it is that you're wanting to be promoted. Like I said, for us, it was the fashion show. Your press release is going to contain very specific information that needs to get out to the public. It's going to contain the what, when, why, where of your event in whatever it is that you're trying to publicize. So you want to be sure to include all of that information in there so that the media outlet will be able to talk about it. Additionally, including a biography or a backstory about you, your company, or your brand is very key to helping them understand who you are, especially if your name is not a well-known name. It helps them do a little research and be able to have some information and say, oh, okay, I really like what I'm hearing or reading about this person or this brand or this company. So let me dig a little bit more and see if this is going to be really something worthy of us talking about during one of our media spots. As a part of that information, you want to highlight your work, your success, your key projects, key things that you've worked on, people that you've worked with. All of those are very notable things that help them understand and get a better, clear picture of who you are as a person, a company, or a brand. The fourth element are pictures. Pictures are definitely a must. The more pictures you have about, of your clothing, of what you're doing, you out there working in the community, whatever it is that you want to spotlight, definitely include those pictures along with your press kit. The fifth and final element is an invitation or a pass. We always included tickets to our fashion show. If you're going to be asking someone to spotlight you and or an event that you're having or what have you, you definitely want to give them passes or something that they can give out to people as a giveaway, or even their staff or them can use to come to the event, and even maybe do a storyline about the event after it's over. That is more publicity. So there you have it. This is publicity in a nutshell. I hope this has been very, very helpful for you in your lesson. And I look forward to talking to you next week about public relations. This is basically a continuum of publicity, because you will use publicity as a part of public relations. And I know people get those two mixed up and what the difference is. Next week, I'll talk about what the difference is. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much for joining me here at Marketing Adventure with Jackie, and I hope you have a wonderfully blessed day. Thanks for listening to Marketing Adventure. Remember to subscribe, rate, review, and share this episode with someone you think would benefit from the information shared here today. If you have any questions or want to connect with me, find me on Instagram at Marketing Adventure. All links and resources discussed in this episode can be found in the show notes at marketingadventure.com.